texturing mode, very simple. The computer analyzes kind of what you've done. I can pick a color and then apply these textures. And we basically replicated the thought process that a texture artist goes through. It understands where the thing should be shadowed, shaded. It understands how stripes should flow down limbs and onto parts. And so instantly the computer is doing, we used to have artists spend days doing. This is, the base layer. I can actually kind of mix different layers here. I can say on top of that, I want to have, thin stripes, for instance. And it will put those on automatically. So I can experiment very rapidly here. And because of the different layers, I can get this huge number of combinatorics in here. Now, once I've got something that I roughly like, I can actually go into test mode. And at this point, the computer takes over with procedural animation. And it says, okay, how would this thing move and behave in the world? So as I click, I can actually see the way this thing moves. And no two creatures will behave in the world the same. Everything you make is going to be different. I can see how it would sound, how it might fight, play, and display emotional responses. So no two creatures that you see in this world will actually behave the same, but they should all be readable. Now, this is what you're doing, to create the content. Now, we're going to pop back out, and I'm going to go into the creature game. Now, you're creating one creature in this game, but the rest of the world around you is being populated with creatures that other players have made automatically. It's looking at how you played the game, aesthetically and kind of skill-based, and figuring out how to pollinate your world with other players' creations. And so this is the environment over which you'll be playing the creature game. Now I'm playing this game with one creature. This is my guy. Kind of avatar-based gameplay. I can control this guy with the mouse or the keyboard. Now I want to basically collect food to get DNA points that I can spend in the editor. Okay, don't want to go that way. I'm going to find some easy pickings here. These guys look small and easy. I'm going to go in and try for these little guys, like food source. But you don't necessarily have to be large in this game. These guys are very social, and so you see they're coming to each other's defense. So I'm probably not going to do too well with those guys. There are just too many of them. I need to kind of look elsewhere. These are the type of creatures that other players have made that are basically pollinating my world. Well, here's some simple herbivores over here. If I can maybe see it. Oh, okay. They're not intimidated with my roar here. They're clearly protecting their nest. Okay, I'm going to give up and go hang with my own peeps over here. There's a whole social game that we play. That as I socialize with my games, we can kind of get a lot of different advantages. Now this one's ready to mate. I can tell by the hearts. So I'll click on this one, and then we'll go to the procedural mating. No two creatures will mate the same. Let's do a little nesting ritual here. So I'm actually playing through every generation of my creature's evolution, from very simple all the way up to intelligence. And every time I get to make a trip back to the editor, where I get to take the DNA points that I've earned over that generation to spend on improving my creature. Now, after the eggs are born, I actually have to kind of protect them long enough for them to hatch. These are some scavengers coming in after my eggs. Now the eggs are ready. I can click on this, and now I'm back in the editor. And this is where I get an opportunity to spend the points that I've earned over that generation. In this case, I want to make my creature a little faster, so I'm going to put some better feet on to move my speed slider up. And I'm going to give them maybe an extra set of arms, so that that'll be very useful, like in the tool using tribal phase. You don't have to spend a lot of time in the editor. You can spend, come in very rapidly. Just make even aesthetic changes. I might decide that my guy looks too goofy, and I want to make him look a little more serious. So I'll put on some kind of meaner looking eyes. That looks better. And give it a little bit more serious paint job here. I'm going to go in and maybe get rid of these kind of clown stripes that he had before. So let's go for something in kind of a darker blue, scales, and then maybe change the stripes a bit here. As I mentioned to you earlier, these creatures compress extraordinarily well. In computer memory, this creature would be about 3 or 4 megabytes of texture, sound, animation. In the compressed format, these creatures are about 3K, which makes it very cheap to move them over the net or store large databases of them. And as I come back into the game, I'm actually born not as an adult, but as the baby version of what I've just designed. So here's mine. And the babies are a little harder to control than the adults, a little goofy. But there's a whole socialization game that we play with the babies. You know, as we play together, we can start bonding and become friends, in which case, this is how I will build like a little pack, or a herd, or a posse, and they'll start following and mimicking me. And it's kind of like the Sim social game, but at a very primitive level. And that way, I can, even as a weaker creature, take on much larger things as a group. So, as I start bonding with my siblings here, as I run around the world, they'll follow me, and they'll roughly kind of mimic what I do. We can like annoy our neighbors over here. Oh, ouch. Run away. Before this gets too bloody, let's skip ahead. So from that phase of the game, we would actually develop intelligence for these creatures, and at this point we would start buying them tools and upgrading their technology. And we're dealing with groups of them, an entire tribe of these little creatures at that point. One of the editors that's open at this point is the hut editor, and I can design kind of like their little global culture hut thing. I can one day unlock the plant editor, edit any of the flora that we see on the planet. At some point we enter the city phase, and it's like a simple version of SimCity where we're creating cities, we're picking out what specialization the city is, whether military, economic, cultural. There's a building editor. All the editors work very similar. So once you've learned one editor, you kind of understand the way they all work. At the civilization level, we're actually creating vehicles that the cities use to interact with each other diplomatically or militarily or culturally. And we're going to skip ahead now in the game toward the end of the civilization game. This is the same planet, the same species, many hours later in the game, after they've basically built a global civilization. And this will give you a sense of kind of what the later gameplay looks like. So this is one of the cities they built. This gives you a sense of the type of stuff you can do in the building editor. You can do stuff that's very organic or very rectilinear. The vehicle editor as well, very open stylistically in terms of what you can build. This is kind of our home city here. You can see very different architecturally than the other city. Now at this point, we basically unified the globe, and we're ready to enter the next phase of gameplay, which is the space game. So we can actually go into the buy UFO mode. Now these are UFOs that other players have designed. It's looked at what we've done aesthetically, and through collaborative filtering decided that it thinks that these are styles of UFOs that we might like, that other players have made. We can choose to ignore this and design our own, or we can just select one of these, and now we're actually at the beginning of the space age for our species. Controlling this UFO, and the UFO is very versatile. I mean, we can use it for moving around much faster than we could before. Very good for exploring our home planet. This is another one of the cities that we captured back in the civilization phase. We have walking vehicles as well. This is kind of a crystalline city. As we pull back, one of the things the UFO is very good for is collecting content. As we go out into space, we're going to want to populate other worlds. And we're going to want to do that with some amount of breeding stock that we might grab from our home planet. So we can use our abduction ray to fill the cargo space on our UFO. And bring with us, I might bring along some plants, animals, whatever. We've also found the abduction ray is very good for throwing things. Those things do pretty well with it. And if you do it right, you can actually get them in orbit, we've discovered. You have to throw them really hard, but you can actually get them in the orbit of the planet. But so as we pull away, we've played the entire game up to this point on the surface of this one planet. And for the first time, we're actually able to kind of pull away from this home planet out into space. This is our home solar system. These are other planets in it right now. I can roll over and kind of get a sense of them. That one's barren. This one has some wildlife on it. Not intelligent, but there is some form of life on this planet. We want some of these planets to be very realistic, plausibly geologic. Other ones we want to be a little more imaginative and kind of fantastic. At the higher levels of this game, as I get more tools for my UFO, I can actually build these planets and customize them entirely. So a player should be able to create worlds, at least as imaginative as this, using the low-level terraforming tools on the UFO. Now, one thing that I want to do is kind of come in here and kind of investigate, what the local wildlife is like. and try populating it, with some of the wildlife I'm bringing from my home planet. And so I'll come down here, use my abduction ray again to drop that thing that I abducted. I think we lost my picture. Where'd he go? He disappeared. There he is. Came back. That's not a very friendly world. Now we can actually use the scanning tool on our UFO to scan things that we encounter. They might be creatures, buildings, vehicles, whatever. As they get scanned, they get added to our database. And the metaphor we have for our database is that of a trading card deck we call Sporepedia. So every piece of content that I come across in the game automatically gets a trading card built for it. This is our home star. And hyperlinked to that home star are the planets around it. This is our home planet. This is the planet that we're around right now. Linked to that are the creatures that I've currently scanned on this planet, each one of which has stats that we can actually take out into like a trading card-based game if we want to. It has the stats, depending on how the creature's designed. It also has the creator of that piece of content. If I like creatures that this person made, that Jenna made, I can bookmark her, and she becomes kind of like a friend, and her content gets preferentially downloaded into my universe. And I can look at this in different ways. I can also just say, show me all the creatures I've encountered in the game so far. So there are different ways of kind of like sorting the data here. This is my avatar back from my home planet. So that kind of becomes the metaphor for all the player customized content that we're encountering in this game. So let's pull away from this planet now. If we pull away from this home star, we actually move out into the region of interstellar space around our home star. So this is several thousand stars around us. We can visit any one of these. Many of these will be computer generated, but most will be player built that are pollinated down to your machine. So as we come in, see it's a very different solar system here. Some of these worlds are going to be places I might want to try to build a colony on and terraform and try to bootstrap up the whole ecosystem. Some of those will be very challenging, like this planet that's very close to the sun, therefore it's very hot. It would be very much a terraforming challenge. But just to give you kind of a sense of the diversity of worlds, this is one of the more realistic planets. This is very much what the early Earth was like, in fact. But even on worlds like these, there might be reasons to explore. There are a lot of things that you'll discover as you explore the universe. So in this case, we've discovered an alien artifact here, just laying on the surface that we can pick out, and it's added into our UFO. And we can use that in things that I might find include things like cloaking devices, might be weapons, might be tradable items. But there are a lot of reasons why I might explore even barren planets like this. So let's pull away from that. This level. Now this planet, in fact it's not really a planet at all, but it's a moon around this large gas giant here. And this one I can tell by the sliders has intelligent life on it. And this was a world that some other players created. And the computer's controlling them now, and controlling their behavior, but they're behaving very similar to the way that person played the game. So in playing the game, the computer's kind of observing, and you're, in some sense, programming how they're going to behave when the computer's controlling them on somebody else's machine. So we're going to pull down and kind of go meet these aliens here. So this is an entire civilization built by another player. Now, this is kind of a first contact scenario. I might try firing some fireworks. Okay, like that. Now at the space level of the game, there are all these kind of different diplomatic directions that the relationships can take. We might become trading partners, we might become very tight allies with kind of a defensive cooperation. In this case, they were kind of impressed with me, so they're starting to worship me. So more primitive civilizations might decide to worship me depending on what I do in this game. So maybe I'll pick some up to bring with me with my abduction beam. Okay. They took that as a hostile act. But they aren't that primitive after all, so I'm going to put my weapons palette here. Taking a bit of damage on my UFO. If I can take out the defenses, then they're sitting ducks. Okay, I took some damage, but I took out call it defenseless at this point. So we're kind of defenseless. I could be cruel if I wanted to be. We've also found that the terraforming tools make excellent weapons. We have an ice comet that we use for basically building an ocean on worlds, and this is kind of a tractor being able to pull an ice comet in. So now let's get out of here real fast. Somebody notices. But everything you do in this game has diplomatic repercussions. And so, if I start kind of acting mean like this, these guys might have really powerful allies, and they're going to show up on our doorstep. And so I basically have to go pay the consequences of that. So I might want to pull away, just kind of get away from the scene of the crime here. Now we're getting another message in here. Oh, these are our guys calling from the home planet. Basically spawning a mission. We have missions at the space level. They might be exploration missions, trading missions. In this case, it's a defensive mission. Where basically my home world, which is down here, is asking for us to come and rescue them. But so this is several thousand worlds that you can investigate as we pull out here. In fact, we're dealing with several million worlds, and there's probably no way that anybody in a lifetime would be able to explore this entire universe. Because it's being collectively built by millions of players as they play the game is what's building this universe. And that is the end of our demo. Thanks for coming.